Everybody's here. So, 15 woke up like an hour ago. It feels like an hour ago. I think somebody just installed periscopes and something. What do you call it? No, they have to call it shutdown, invasion of privacy, or tampering or something. So I think we'll just have to call it. Someone installed periscopes. So. Harassment, sexual harassment. Let's call it sexual harassment. Alright, that's that. So, now, could it be real? Could it not be real? I want my personal periscope card. I want to hear it from the horse's mouth, don't you? Do you ever? I want to hear it from the horse's mouth ever? Unless you're mute. I mean, you know. Well, who's to say what? Well, so, they're trying to clean up, something like that, such and such. And really just introducing Lime and whatnot. You know what I'm saying? So, whether you just want a service or not, like some type of heathen service, that costs money. That costs like a little bit of money. Heathen services are not free. More than donations. And I'm not saying it's such and such heathen, so it's like because you're cutting Lime. So, and when you're going to do Lime with sexual harassment, you take that equation of Lime and sexual harassment. For the flavor of it, you add Alzheimer's, and what you get is Shriners. So, you said it, Baron. This thing is funny. I think this is funny. Shriners and stuff. So that's serious. They say serious is cancer. Yeah. Yeah, it's like eating potato chips for breakfast, like a sweet potato. Like, what are you trying to say? All that stuff. I'm gonna chop in. You know you need vitamin D. Nothing else to do about it. So the equation of like sexual harassment and Lime. Let's just keep it simple, right? 1 + 1, right? Not 11, but sexual harassment + Lime. And what you're talking about is reparations and whatnot. And you're talking about compensation, okay? In the form of medicine. Excuse me, in the form of medicine. And COPD, I mean, what can I say, you know? And for medicine, Medicare benefits, prescription drugs, medicine, cannabis medicine, if you will, and and disability is my own thing. So I mean, and so let me say compensation in general. Not talking about anything else, but compensation in general. Because harassment and Lime. So with that, of course, with all due methodical processes. You would have to say, you have to say give it time. There was a word, give it time. So, it's sexual harassment, sexual harassment, and Lime is just on right now. And beyond periscopes, so let's define further in the periscopes are. These are all kaleidoscope of things, right? Which is going on right now. So that in itself, wouldn't you say is a total separate equation from grounds for evasion, if you will? I mean, I'm just saying, wouldn't you say that's like a totally separate equation from that, from removal or noise or whatever? Wouldn't that you say is a total separate equation from that? So given that. No, we'll just keep it on a periscope, okay? Because this is beyond that. And that's great, yeah. You know, and what about? Put up the chains, whatnot. Wow. Who doesn't want that? Who wants less stress? Who doesn't want less stress? Oh, we'll call it the unequivocal equation. Call it what you want. I'm trying to make an alibi out of it. But it is what it is. And I just forgot exactly what it was, but a separate equation is what it is. And it could be that Brett Wall was like, such and such, rather, not like something along, but, so the cootie top. Okay, so, there is. Like, okay, well, it says, well, I want to say you're not. And so let's look at it right away. And then it says, give us some credit. Give yourself some credit. About this, yeah, I mean, it's a trap. So let's just read into it, right? Let's cross our eyes into it and read into it and be like, anytime our president could, so let's just go further into getting our feet wet into what we were talking about earlier. So a separate equation for making noise and stuff like that, and stuff like that. And a separate equation. And it's always a separate equation. Grouse removal as a separate equation. Beyond what do you call it? Okay. So that's always a separate equation. You can't integrate the two and be like, oh, it's just insinuated trash and stuff like that. Okay. So you can't just insinuate. So you're losing line on top of that. So you're kind of like compounding you're compounding it with another equation that is like a separate charge in itself. So I mean, you're saying that, but that's totally separate equation from what that is. That doesn't mean what you capitalize on it and say, for example, right, to entertain an idea, right? And what's it say, right? Capitalize on it and to entertain the idea, right? Capitalize on it and make money out of it some way or another, or find some more other way to exploit the situation for own personal benefit without regard other people that you're surrounded with. Okay, so that in itself is charged itself is separate from charge. Okay, from sentimental value, whatever you can. What I'm trying to say. Okay, you're saying. Okay. So that involves rental office and stuff like that. And so and here we're talking about applicatories and talking about throwing rocks and all that stuff. And this is what they've been doing and type stuff of what do you call it? What I said earlier on my blogs, and stuff like that with conflict and stuff like that. I mean, especially revolutions, all this other stuff. Okay, so all this stuff. Look at these people. And this is remind you of on applicatory. If you watch the news a lot, this is to remind you of Israel and what do you call it, in the Middle East and stuff like that. And so they're over there and things and stuff, war torn places of Palestine and everything, all that stuff. So I mean, all that stuff, what I'm saying, and all that stuff, and they're just doing the stuff. So. You're saying that's separate. Yeah, it is separate. It's a little separate from someone that's talking about, we're reading the triplets, identical twins, identical strangers, and instead they get two viewings, one a Channel 4 perspective, like 4 perspective, where it's like, this happens where you can't even concentrate on what you're talking about. They're two different people, and count it as a racial separation. So, I mean, what I'm saying? I mean, that on top of it, I don't even know if I'm saying exacerbate right, because it's kind of just saying it, but it's kind of just kind of like, worsens the whole thing, you know what I mean? It worsens it even further. And so, you're not creating more wounds. And so, what do you call it? So, it's sexual harassment in general, and also harassment in general. So, what do you make of it? Okay, the conclusion. So, what is this guy? Exactly what this guy just said. Okay? This correspondent said. He said it was Venezuela and applicatories. And so it is a separate equation from all that. So you say, maybe it is a grand hoax or whatnot. On continued sexual harassment, or what do you call it? Still in the idea of Periscope and stuff like that, to make it a light term, you know what I mean? Because the sexual harassment is your charge that you're just kind of like not even addressing. If you want to keep it a separate charge and whatnot and say, well, it's harassment in general and stuff like that, yeah, it is that. And from now, it's down for another angle on top of that, as it's been all the time.
You have just 1 minute. You have to watch Nick's piece as he went undercover.